All right, so today is February 21st, 2023, library board meeting. I feel like it's being officially recorded. I need to speak a little more officially.
That's the council meeting.
So let's start with attendance. Tyler Crook, here. Kipola, here. Tracy Dillon, here. Emily Sanders,
Here.
Catherine I do not know how to pronounce her last name. Youngquist.
Here.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Jennifer Eccles.
Here.
Robin Onstadt. Robin. Councilor Hernandez.
Here.
Excellent. Sarah Frost.
Here.
Crystal Stevens.
Here.
Any other guests tonight?
Do we want to do quick introduction since we have new people at the
I
table?
think that'd be a fun thing to do.
Here, I can't believe I didn't. I obviously was in a hurry when I made this, so.
Should we do introduction, have everyone do a brief introduction so that the new people know who's who?
Sure.
Okay, well, we'll just go down the order that we did the roll call. I'm Tyler Crook, the chair, and I've been in Willamina for about, I think it's been 6 or 7 years now, and that's kind of it for me. Like I work in publishing, I draw comic books for a living, and yeah, that's me. Kipola, you want to give a little introduction?
Hi, my name is Kipola Napoleon, and I've lived here in Willamina for almost 8 years. We started coming to the library as a family with my little kiddos coming to story time, and Sarah had just such a warm and welcoming environment. It inspired me to start volunteering, and Crystal was actually the first chair of the Love Our Library fundraising committee, and then she passed the torch to me afterwards. So I've been running that since 2019, and yeah, I just love the library. Let's help out in any way I can. So welcome to you newcomers. Thank you.
And Tracy.
Hi, my name is Tracy Dillon. I think I'm halfway through my second term as an advisory board member to the library. Since we're talking about how long we've lived here, I think about 20 years on our little farm in the Badlands outside of the mighty metropolis of Willamina. I'm a professor at PSU. I teach grant writing. Been able to link up with Sarah on several occasions to have community-based learning happening with students, interfacing with the library and writing grants for them. So that's been very satisfying, and that's about it for me.
Nice. Emily?
I'm Emily Sims, and I've lived here in Willamina almost 2 years. Next month, 2 years. And one of my first places I stopped was in here to the library to check it out, and just fell in love with our little library and wanted to know what I could do to help serve or help fundraise or whatever they needed. And in real life, I'm a reading teacher in McMinnville Public Schools. So kind of all time for me.
Kat.
Hi, hello. I've been here since November. I think I technically built on my house in September, but I'm an Oregon native. I mean, I grew up over in Gaston, so I'm not that far away. I'm a PSU alum, so yeah, graduated a few years ago. I am currently in my grad program with St. John's University studying information science, aka library science, and I have a background in grant writing and have worked doing grants across the Pacific Northwest with some different institutions.
Cool.
So, yeah. Wanted to hang out.
Thank you for joining us. Jennifer,
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I first moved to Willamette in 2015, and at that time Sarah was the code enforcer. And I remember coming here when she first took over and just have been very impressed with how it's developed. I'm a social worker during the day, a licensed clinical social worker for the state. I work for Providence in the home health, so I work with a lot of disadvantaged older adults. So connecting them with resources and helping their mental health needs. And I often stop in here to do charting or change my pants when I need to go to the food pantry. So I use it. So I feel that I should. And I also have a alpaca farm on Willamette Creek.
nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. That's really cool. Robin is not here. Counselor Hernandez, do you want to give us a little 411?
Absolutely. Hello, I'm sorry I'm not showing you my face because I'm pretty looking pretty scary right now. I've been sick all day with some sort of a bug. It's not COVID, I took a test. But anyway, but I'm still waiting to be here tonight. So I'm Vicki Hernandez, the representative from City Council. I've lived here in Willamina for, I don't know, 15, 16 years. I love our library. I've known Sarah. She was actually my daughter's cheerleading coach back in the day. That's how I met Sarah. And have known her for many years. And I love the library. I volunteer there one day a week. And I'm looking forward to seeing how I can help, what information I can take back to council. And I actually look forward to meeting you all at the next meeting. I usually attend in person, but just couldn't do it tonight. So thank you.
I hope you get feeling better.
Thank you. Me too.
Sarah.
I'm gonna have you on mute only because my dogs start barking and I start coughing. So, but I'm still listening. So just not being rude. I just have a lot of noisy dogs. So.
Sarah Cross, Library Director. I've been working with the city since February of 2016. So I think I just had an anniversary. I don't know. It kind of came and went really fast.
Yeah.
But I've been at the library since August 1st of 2016. And we hit the ball, or hit the ground running, I guess I should say. We got a lot of amazing projects that I'm super excited about. And I get really fired up and excited because of the team that's sitting at the table right now, and I just see so many possibilities. I grew up here in Willamina. I am a graduate of Willamina High School, so people have known me around these parts for quite some time, because then I moved away, did growing up things, and then came back to help the city out. So here I am.
Yay. And Crystal.
Leaves me. I'm Crystal Stevens. We moved to Willamina in March. It'll be 6 years ago, and I worked for Sarah at the library. I was her first library assistant that they let her hire. And that was, I believe, July of 2017. So like she hadn't even been doing it for a year, and so we were just kind of like, well, she knew a lot more than me, but we were kind of figuring things out as we go. And I would learn something and she'd be like, where did you see that? Where did you learn that? And we just like worked super hard with our volunteers as well, just getting this place like really moving and going. And then I left and was not working for the city or anything for a couple of years. And then I just got rehired at the city hall as the deputy city recorder. So, and it's been good timing because now I can actually help out here for this interim time of transition for Carla and everything. So, I'm back helping out in the library some too, and then back here. Am I on the board or am I just like a liaison?
You get to hang out.
Yeah, so I'm not really one of you, but anyway, I'm taking notes and I'm just super passionate about everything that is Willamina. So I love being here and meeting all of you guys. And
Crystal is a great example of how we've built better relationships with city administration since I was over there and came back over here. Because previously, as many of you know, It fell on me to keep up with meeting agendas and minutes and uploading and website and social media content and all the things for the library. And Crystal is the support now from administration so that she can, as part of record retention and public meetings, she can hold now the minutes for our meeting here and make sure that those are done and taken care of. So, so thank
Huge thing
you.
off of your plate. too.
Yes, it is. So that you don't get 2 meeting minutes every other month.
That's the goal.
That's amazing. Thanks for coming, Crystal.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, are there any additions, questions, or changes to the agenda? Okay. Who wants to approve the meeting notes from November? Anyone want a motion for that? They would have been in the email. So we have the meeting notes from November and from January that both need to get approved, motioned and seconded.
You guys know what that looks like?
I'll mo-
Oh, that's okay. No, good. Go for it.
I'll motion to approve the meeting minutes for November, and can I motion to approve the meeting minutes for January as well?
Anyone want a second?
A second.
All right, let's vote. All in favor of approving the motion or the meeting notes from November and January, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. Unanimous. Man, we are so good.
It's on a roll.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with our reports. Sarah, the library director report.
So I have, since we have new board members, I thought it would be a good time, plus I'm way overdue providing any statistics, and I did not have net lending statistics last month, so I just pulled these up really quick today, so it's not really a full snapshot of all the things, but it is a quick snapshot of just some statistics, just strictly material, not number of visits, not our programs and the wide scope of all the things we're doing, or even the breakdowns of what is moving material wise. But for those who don't know, net lending for us, it's one of the ways that our library is reimbursed funding through the Chemeketa Cooperative Regional Library Service. When we are providing more material out than we're bringing in from the other libraries for our patrons versus sending out to their patrons. So you can see in Q1, on the left-hand side, are our numbers for this year. We lent out to the other member libraries 2,633 items to fill their patron holds, and we borrowed 1,187. So we are considered a lending library, and as such, there is a value placed on material, and we received a check for just over $2,100 for Q1. On the right-hand side, you can see a comparison to last year's statistics. I apologize for everybody online. Hold on just a second. Let me share this with you so that you guys can see it too. I just realized this is something I just made today and you guys don't have it. All right, let's see if I'm skilled enough to share the screen from over here. See, is that my report right there? It looks like it. Online, can you guys see my net lending report?
Yeah, it's all gave them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, and then In Q2, same thing. Again, we have been a lending library since just right before the pandemic, actually, is when we saw our first net lending check. We, for a long time, were a borrowing library. And things that can kind of tip that scope, well, the biggest thing that can kind of tip that scale, not scope, is the type of material we have on hand, if it's material people are requesting and that they want. So having a healthy collection helps us participate in being a net lending library, and competing against some of the bigger dogs in the system. So this is not something that is set in stone forever and ever. In fact, at the consortium level, we've talked about whether or not to continue net lending as a practice versus just tying these dollars back into our quarterly reimbursements that we get through the tax base. So as of right now, though, it is set in stone, at least for the rest of this fiscal year and going into next fiscal year, because we've already done our budget at the consortium level. But I thought that was really great to share. And then so below, are there any questions actually about net lending and how that works?
Yeah, I wasn't following what you were just saying, because you're saying that maybe we wouldn't do net lend, or we wouldn't do the net lending?
Yeah, there's other systems do it differently. And one of the things we talk about in library land is equitable practices that support all libraries versus some over others. So like when we think about equitable services to our patrons, it's kind of works the same backwards as well. Like, are we being, especially as a cooperative, are we being fiscally supportive to our member libraries, even though they're giving in to the system, but just because they don't have the thing on the shelf that people want. So it's kind of some of the thought process behind that. So
That makes sense.
usually there's only a few libraries who have brought it up before in the past, but we've had turnover at the library director level, so it hasn't come up again since just right before the pandemic. But it could potentially be something that goes away. So it's not anything I ever budget into my budget because it could not be there. So it's just always, it's like getting a bonus for us every single quarter. So any other questions about net lending? And if you're online, I apologize. It made the screen super small. So if I can't see your hand, just feel free to just shout out and say, pick me. So it's like, I can't see over there. So then below that, I shared just really quick circulation statistics, because that can show at least how much material is crossing our table to our patrons any given month. So last month, in January, we had 858 pieces of material pass over our counter to a person. And then 467 renewals took place last month. So all of those count towards a total circulation statistic, but I find a lot of value in separating out the two. And then as you can see, that's greatly up from last year's numbers, as we're still coming out of pandemic practices last fiscal year, coming into this fiscal year. So that's first time checkout, the first time it went across the counter and went to a person, and then renewals. And renewals can happen up to 2 additional times. So some of these can be doubled for one piece of material. So that's just a small snapshot, but the longer a person has it, it counts as a circulation statistic to us. Questions about circulation statistics?
Have you seen any change in the way people check out books now that we've gone fine free? Or is it too early really to tell that?
I think that usage hasn't changed, no, but material coming back has. So we actually, I just got it. I haven't even had time to look at it yet. But Carla did have a chance to look at it, and we just got our lost book report, which is a report we get twice a year at the library level, that's ran through the CCRLS office. And we go and look for those books just to make sure that they didn't really come back and then just missed and got put on the shelf. And our list, Carla says, is considerably smaller. So it is possible that we are seeing a trend in material coming back to us.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so which is fantastic and exciting, and I can't wait to actually look at the report and dive into it a little bit more, so. Any other questions about circulation checkouts? Nope. All right, and then the bottom portion, and let me scroll down here so you guys can see online. And Tracy will be a little bit more familiar with this as he's our rural lay member for the CCRLS board. So I'm part of the budget committee for CCRLS, and we just wrapped up our budget committee meetings and made a recommendation to our board of directors to approve the budget so that it can go before the college and be approved. And part of that budget takes into effect what's called formula-based reimbursement. So from taxes received every year, it goes into a pool of money. And then obviously some of that money gets budgeted into all the things it takes to keep the member libraries happy and ran through the cooperative office through the college. And then there will be a pool of money. So as you see, did I put in here, the reimbursement pot is expected for next fiscal year to be that $1.7 million. And then that pot of money based on two things. Let's see how well I explain this, because it is not easy, and even our own CCRLS directors over time have had a hard time explaining this. So a librarian's previous fiscal year's non-resident circulation. What that is anytime somebody comes to my library to check out an item that is either rural, so not within Willamina city limits, and or from another member library. So the fiscal year 21-22, we had 5,358 non-resident circulations. We searched to that many people who are not within library city limits. And then it's based on current fiscal year assessed tax valuation. Willamina is such a unique little place because we are in 2 counties. So they have to take into consideration 2 counties worth of data, Yamhill County and Polk County. And then that goes into a magical formulation and a already created Excel spreadsheet. And then it gives all the member libraries, currently 17 that are taking from this pot, and gives them a formula share. Ours for next year being 0.0069% of all the numbers. And 17 libraries are in this pot for this coming fiscal year. And that includes everything from Salem, our biggest library, Newburgh, Woodburn, all the way down to our smallest of libraries, Lyons, Jefferson. And then next fiscal year, it'll be 18 libraries, because then the Confederated Tribes Library will have 1 full year of circulation data, and then they'll be able to be part of the reimbursement formula. So all that to say that next fiscal year, we will receive back from CCRLS through taxable monies, $12,274 to help support our library. Did I do okay, and or throw the questions at me? Because it has taken me nearly 8 years to figure out, and I still don't have this thing figured out. And or Tracy, because you go to the board meetings, if you have any additional feedback, please feel free to share.
I think you sum things up very nicely.
All right.
So the 142 million number, that's like the property tax assessment value of Willamina?
Yep.
Okay. Wouldn't that be great if that was the number that we got?
Yeah.
It's a new building.
There's two. And some notes on this is obviously our prior fiscal year non-resident circulation numbers are considerably low. Again, as we came out of pandemic practices, closures. So we should, I'm expecting to see increased non-resident circulation improve. But as we move forward as a consortium and as we have another library to add to the pool too, I can't imagine actually that our fiscal portion of our reimbursement formula will do much more fluctuating than that mark, because this last year it was $13,000, and we're just about $1,000 underneath that, so. And that's all I have for statistics, unless you guys have questions. Woo! The only other thing I have for library director is not really a report, but a request. And Tracy and Kaypola, I received your emails, so I will take note of those. But I did get Dave and Will thank you cards. And Tyler has ordered the plaques. Thank you for overseeing that for me. It was a huge help with everything going on here. And for those who might not know, so let me stop sharing my screen so we can see everybody. So for like Counselor Hernandez and Jennifer and Kat, so these were just our previous board members whose terms you two have now taken over to own. And Dave he is a long time resident of the Willamina area as well. And he has served on the library board. He was just about to finish up his second full year or full term. So he's been with me since I started August of 2016. And Will was in a partial term and then a full term. So he's got some time to serve, but he's been volunteering with me. I started in August and he started in September of 2016. And he has been a long time, near every day volunteer at this library. He's kind of become a staple, and people just expect to see Will. And so he's put a lot of hours and time into this building too. So I asked the library board to do some recognition for them for their length of service at the library. So that is the story behind Will and Dave. So I have these here, and Tracy and Kaypola, I'll add yours, and then I'll get you guys definitely too, but even if you guys wanted to send a little nice message, thanks for giving me your spot. What I'm going to do is invite Will and Dave to attend next month's meeting so that we can give them their thanks and recognition for all of their service to the library these last 200 years or so. And that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions of and the library. I probably should give you guys an update and just let you know Carla is okay, and she is back and behind the scenes more than anything, and probably will not be patron facing still for some time, and I am making full accommodations for her to not have to do so, and not to even have to worry about it until I get back from my March vacation. And she's currently out on bereavement leave right now. So.
How are the library hours looking?
Gross and neglectful, I won't lie. You know, Carla's my right arm, and so I'm 32 hours a week, and Carla just had moved well, from her temporary full-time as interim library manager back to a part-time library assistant of 16 hours. We just had got her knocked back up to finally 32 hours as well. And I'm still have been giving about half of my time to city administration until we have all of our positions backfilled, which we're almost there. The last of our staff members start next week and then March 6th. But unfortunately, it means the library service hours have taken a hit, and I've tried to make sure we're still open the minimum Oregon state requirement, which is 20 hours a week. With a little bit of moderation in that. I've been very fortunate, since Crystal was familiar with library services, that I can utilize her still when I have to do city administration work still. But I'm still trying to download a lot of the information I have from City Hall down into Crystal's brain, so that she can do more of that stuff. And then we hired another office coordinator for the city, who also has experience over here at the library, as a previous volunteer. So the city will be able to support us more going forward for a little while, as long as we need it. When I'm back from my vacation, we'll go back up in hours as long as I'm available. And then once Carla's ready to be back, patron facing, will actually, the plan was to move to actually more hours between Carla and I. So we've been a 22 to 24 hour a week library for a really long time, and it would be really nice to extend on those hours now that we've got 2 32-hour staff members and not just one. So we have a modified schedule. It's posted on the website. I shared it on social media, and it's at our service points. And then when I get back from Texas, we'll explore it again and see if we need to continue with that or not.
Okay, sounds good. Library board member reports. I don't remember. I guess the only one we have is the fundraising committee. Okay, Paula, is there any news over there?
No, won't have our first meeting until April, when I return from maternity leave. So I will have more information for you then.
Okay. All right, then we're on to unfinished business. The new library facility. We had our first new library facility meeting. Some of you were there. I wish more people had attended. We sort of scheduled it for a time when everyone was out of town for the day or the week or the month. So hopefully we'll get more people next time. But overall, it was really positive. I think there's a lot of excitement still for doing this library. There's a lot of exciting stuff. Kat has some very cool contacts that she's gonna be exploiting. And yeah, I'm not sure exactly what else, if there's anything new to say. We're still I'm waiting to hear back on a checklist to start the 501c3 stuff. I followed up with Marion, but haven't heard back yet. I'll plug her again probably tomorrow. And yeah, really that's sort of where we're at. I think there's the very first step is still to get sort of the fundraising structure in place, and to figure out some way to what's the word? I'm spacing on the word. Like poll the community, or like get input from the community to find out what kind of support there is for a new library building and what they want out of the new library. So I think that's where we're at right now. And hopefully the next meeting that we have next month, or the month after next, we'll get a lot more people in and do it. But it's really yeah, there's a lot of good energy. And you know what they say, like, we don't do this because it's easy. We do this because we think it's going to be easy. So that's where we're at right now.
That's where I've been going.
Do you want to say anything about that?
I've reached out to my friends, former mentors. Jill Timmons is a professor at Yale. She's done grant writing on the Pacific Northwest for a long time, so she's sending me a bunch of literature. She's done a lot of grant writing for the arts, but really she's just got experience everywhere. Sean O'Malley is the most amazing person, but he's brilliant. He's very direct. He will just tell you how it is. I reached out to him knowing that if we were looking for guidance, essentially, like this is a huge project and a lot of money potentially going towards it. And there's gotta be some sort of consultation involved. So I reached out to him saying, who do you know? And he said, well, actually, I worked with Lake Oswego when they built their new library. And he's on the board of the Huntington Library Museum down in Pasadena. That's where he's based. But he has offered to have a meeting with the whichever group of people is going to attend to talk about this, to kind of help put some structure in place, what needs to happen. I'm sure Tyler could back me up on this, but before you go looking for grants, you have to have a plan in place. Like you can't just say, we really love some money, but we don't know what we're going to do with it yet. You can't just go looking for grants saying, we haven't tried to raise any money, but we really like you to give us some. So he has some great ideas in place for some options for funding. He can explain it better than I can, but he, talked about a potential sales levy in the community, and 5 cents of every sale would go towards the library fund. We build that up. Another thing he was saying is we definitely need to find a contractor and get a plan for where it's going to be, how big it's going to be, have all of this in place. Grant writing would be kind of the last thing we would do in order to get that funding. But he, again, has great ideas. He is a straight shooter. So full of really valuable information. And again, he's offered to he said like he'd meet with us for half an hour to an hour. And just to help us get the ball rolling. So between the two of them, and I have a lot of literature that Jill has been sending me.
Oh, nice.
So I've got lots of articles that I can start sending out and make sure that we're all on the same page. I'm already at max capacity with how much I can read in a week. I do work full time, so like this is what I'm fitting into my schedule. So.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's
but
great.
he's wonderful, and it'd be cool what he has to say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim.
Do you have anything to add, Sarah?
No, not that I can think of. That's all of it right there. And
Yeah.
that's what makes it so exciting is, the first meeting was really preliminary, like, is this something we want to do? And obviously, maybe it sounds like this is something we want to do. And, like Tyler keeps reminding me, like, people were buzzing about it before we even have our first meeting. In fact, the bulletin, one of the gals there, she emailed me, and I really need to get back to her, asking me more about this new building and what are we talking about? I'm like, I haven't getting the report yet. So I'm just excited that this is what I'm coming back to, that this conversation is really exciting. So that's what I'll add. I'm excited.
Nice. All right, the next thing is the homelessness response and prevention event. I missed the first half of it, unfortunately. Somebody else was there, but I can't remember. Sarah was obviously there, but were you there, Tracy?
I was there.
You were there, okay. Do you want to tell us?
No, I wasn't, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I was there for the first part and then the last part.
Okay, I just only showed up at the very last half or whatever. Do you want to give us a rundown on sort of your impressions of it?
I think there was a lot of, it seemed to be that there was a lot of community involvement and support for the different ideas on what to do and what we need here. Other than that, Sarah, I don't know if you wanna.
Yeah, I can build on it. I hosted that first community conversation, is what we called it. And the first half was really about partner updates. So we had a lot of community partners. We had someone from Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde speak about their new tiny village. We had Polk County Commissioner Gordon was here to talk about the pilot project that's happening to address homelessness in rural Polk County. We had the executive director from YCAP here. Carrie Zimbrick, our school district superintendent, was here and spoke a little bit about what they're seeing up at the school. I had our partner over in Sheridan, the city manager Heidi Bell was here and gave some updates as to like what projects they are exploring potentially. So and Matt Smucker, who helped get up and running and helps run the Polk County warming shelters in Independence, Monmouth, Dallas, and Falls City. So he did some updates as well. And I think that was most of the people who spoke. So then, Marianne Bradshaw, who is our consultant for the pilot project in Polk County addressing rural homelessness, which I'm also a part of as the city of Willamina's representation. And she's the consultant, but she also helps with the Marion and Polk County Youth Homelessness projects and helps with their board of students called Backbone out of the Salem area. So she's more familiar with youth homelessness. So that was the first half. Like, why are we talking about this? We talked about some of the case law that has happened over the last few years that has brought us to this point in Oregon, where local municipalities need to address local homelessness. And then we talked about what's happening in communities. And then we did a survey with Marianne, a DOT survey about like, why do you think we have homelessness? How bad do you think it is? So there were 4 questions. And then the second half was really geared towards tabletop conversations. So I broke everybody into groups and they had 4 questions to answer. And then I compiled all the information from that and just did some follow-up there towards the end. But it was really meaningful and amazing conversations. I thought I was actually super energized after that meeting and super exhausted all at the same time. But a lot of those conversations were tailing off of what's known as the point in time count that is done nationwide every year to count how many people in the coldest month of the year have slept unsheltered typically, but this year they did unsheltered and sheltered. And we've had some really cold nights even here in Willamina, and it was good to even hear some people talking about that as well. So I'll open it back up to anybody else who wants to talk, but then I can tell you what that team's doing for next steps. And then we could see if this group is still interested in sending representation to those meetings, which is where we kind of left off as a library board last month. So.
Yeah, I'm interested in continuing to attend those meetings when I can. Like everyone else, I have a full-time job. But so I haven't always been able to make it. Like I made it to the second half of that the youth, the homelessness stuff. Where was that? Was that in Dallas?
It was in Independence at their high school library. And that was that last week? I feel like maybe that was last week. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But again, that was Mary Bradshaw, and she did youth homelessness because they're getting ready to open a house for transitional living for youth and in Polk County, so not in Salem where traditionally services have been. So instead of shipping the kids off to Salem, they're really trying to find localized solutions for youth experiencing homelessness. And yeah, that was really insightful. I jumped in 15 minutes late, and Jim Lash also attended virtually too, one of our volunteers from here too. And I know he has some good feedback from that meeting too, but it was the youth were really driving that. So the youth served as a panel for that meeting and talked about some of their own experiences with homelessness and what having their organization and their what did I say they were called? Backbone?
Backbone.
Yeah, backbone. Community has really meant for them, and what are some things that they want to do to help impact some of the conversations we're having in rural Polk County. So that was super impactful too, and it was really hard to hear some of those stories. Actually, it made my mom hurt a lot. So
It was amazing the way they, that Backbone organization lets the kids advocate for themselves and really empowers them. It's really cool organization.
You see meetings going forward primarily during the day, like what they have been.
yeah, I think we'll start exploring some additional options. Our next meeting is another morning meeting, but it's a very specific meeting. So I've arranged a meeting with some key players, Matt Smucker again, with the warming shelters in Polk County. And then Jim York, who is the new pastor at Willamina Free Methodist Church, and then the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Emergency Services. And we're all going to meet next week. Oh my goodness, next Thursday to really talk about emergency response in this area during cold weather events, but then also emergency services during all weather events, not just the cold weather, since we'll be coming off and we really won't be able to do anything this winter. However, that doesn't mean we can't respond during those August and September high heat events we've been experiencing, and especially since we're still in the PSPS PGE rolling shutoff zone. That's another event that we can be responding to as a community. And Matt Smucker through Polk County has some funding available. So if the opportunity presents itself between now and June 30th, he could potentially get something set up for us for like a pop-up shelter service, basically, where if we have the building, then now we have a trailer full of supplies. So that's some of the stuff we're going to be exploring and talking about next Thursday. And then after that, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks, and then I'll come back and I'll start wrapping my head around all the conversations. And then it'll probably be time to start talking about a bigger type of community conversation, which will mean getting our partners probably either from the school district or the community campus involved, so we can have a bigger space and have more of a community invited, like, here's what we've been talking about, here's potentially what we might be doing, what are your questions, your concerns, stuff like that, and really have a bigger community conversation after that piece. And then I'll make a recommendation to city council about how to proceed from there.
When you say do an emergency pop-up, you mean using the building, the library building as an emergency pop-up?
Potentially, that's one of the reasons why, so Jim York, got connected to that meeting, actually, we had at the beginning of February through the previous, I believe, pastor, and because I had not even met him yet, and then he also attended the city council meeting too. So I'm hoping, and Amanda Weidmark, the director from the campus, will be coming to that meeting too, because it'll take more spaces and capacity than just public spaces, and that's what I'm advocating for. Is we could do something small and trial and really quick here in our space. However, we lack a lot of things that some of those bigger buildings potentially might have, fire department included, such as bathrooms, cleaning opportunities, maybe washer dryer, showers. So it would be nice to have a list starting off of potential places where we could do pop-up shelter services.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
What time is the meeting?
9. This is how bad I am. I don't even,
It's okay.
so many meetings and so little time. I can tell you right now, and it is 9:30 to 11 is when we have that scheduled for. And I'm not doing a Zoom link for that. We're just all gonna meet here in person, since it's a pretty specific conversation. But
Is the last one online?
it had an online feature, yeah, Jennifer attended.
And is it archived on?
It will be as soon as I can.
That was nice.
Everyone
All right. Any
Okay,
questions?
I've got a quick question for Sarah, if that's okay. Hello?
Yes. Go for
Okay, hey, Sarah, I don't know if this has been covered before, but I'm just curious, okay, if you've got a shelter, you probably need an adult supervisor 24/7, right? Is that true or
So-
not?
With the idea and the type of shelter service we're exploring here in Willamina, no. Because it would be more, and Matt can definitely speak to it better than I can, but the way he explained it to me, based on the model I'd like for our community to explore, is that we would have trained volunteers in the community, and we would have key locations that maybe would sign up to take turns for a month or like so many weeks out of the winter. And then staff are trained, or volunteers, I guess, are trained to be able to do the shelter service on cold weather night events. So if the forecast is showing a model for below 32 degrees, then whoever's turn it is would provide a shelter service with volunteers that would be available. So it wouldn't be like a 24/7 model for all the time.
But during that time, they would have 24-hour.
No.
supervision?
No, so it would be, from like, I think the ones in, and don't quote me again, Matt knows better than I do, but I believe he told me it's like a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. model, maybe, where they can check in, at a certain time in the evening and check out by a certain time in the morning, so.
Or vice versa if it's hot.
Or vice versa if it's hot, yeah. And the library can better serve as a cooling area, which we have done if we're open already anyways during hot summer events. It's the cold weathers that are really harder to find volunteers to serve that capacity and feel really comfortable with the training and the potential for who will be in their space. I also invited, but I haven't been able to connect with her yet because she's been out of state, Meredith from the youth center to that conversation as well. That way we could explore different buildings for different service options, maybe. So maybe we have a place for families, where we have a place for single people, or a place for pets, or like, so that we're not creating any barriers for people. So does that answer your question, Tracy?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay. New business. We need a new co-chair. Will was the co-chair, and now that he's no longer here, we need our person. So does anyone want to do that? The co-chair responsibilities are basically just to chair the meetings when I'm not here. And I think that's basically it, right? Well, I got thrown under the bus to become the chair, so I don't feel like doing that to someone else, because that's just rude.
Well, someone can volunteer, someone can nominate someone, so I'll leave it to you guys to decide how you wanna do this. I already gave my eyeball look for the night, so.
I think saying that you're the co-chair of the library board sounds a lot scarier than it really is. Like, you probably won't have to do anything.
You were co-chair.
Yeah, I didn't have to do anything.
So you want to do both.
So you-
Well,
Happens to just meeting.
yeah, really, that's all it is. Okay. Well then, I'll nominate Jennifer to be the co-chair. Does anyone want to second that nomination?
I'll second.
All right. And, everyone who would like, Jennifer to be the co-chair of the library board, say aye. And raise your hand, I guess.
I
Okay, I think we're unanimous, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw all eyes across the board.
Sounds great. Congratulations.
Yeah.
First
Thank you.
Go get her.
That's right.
You know, I became the chair on, I think, my 4th meeting. All right, do you have any public input? I don't think we have the public here.
No,
Announcements and calendar. Sarah?
going away.
You?
I will be accessible and I will be checking emails and working unfortunately on this trip, but I will be out of state. So I can't see you unless it's virtually. But if I'm needed or if you guys have things, or don't be surprised if an email comes out during that time for something, I guess is important too. I'm just emailing it from Texas, so. And Crystal is covering.
Nice,
I'll
thanks,
be in,
Crystal.
I'll be in house, yeah. No problem.
Are there any, like, library events happening?
I wish I could say yes, but unfortunately, no. We are still holding through with our weekly story time. And that has actually moved because it has outgrown us now with the amount of visitors that they have to their story time. And it's up at the youth center, every Tuesday at noon. And we are, once I get back from vacation and get through the next round of homelessness response and prevention, I've got to start, planning for summer reading program. Oh, and we have our 4th Saturday programming day back, though, which was a first Saturday thing back when we had a youth services person, but it's more open and not just teens, because for a long time there, we were doing only teens had access to the library on first Saturdays, but now we're just having an open programming day on the 4th Saturdays. And it's really open for all the things that people would want to come in and do, computers, board games, put the video games on for the kids, I think, art, crafts if they're available. I think they were running a role-playing game, a tabletop role-playing game last month as well. So we have that, and then the astronomy club is back also on the 4th Saturday. So I guess we do have programming. I just didn't think about it.
Awesome. Well, unless there's anything else, I think we're done for the day. Anyone want a motion to adjourn?
And
I'll-
motion that
I'll
we
motion.
adjourn.
I thought we were gonna go all night. Any seconds?
I'll second.
All right, then I guess, do we vote to adjourn?
Nah,
No, we're just adjourned.
call it as the chair.
We are adjourned,
All right.
6:59. Right under the